Okay. You know who I am, you know what I do, and dear God, by this point in time, you know I'm supposed to be finishing up my final review for Guns of Insanity so I can go on a very much needed break. Well, I took a break from editing and filming and all that jazz of the final review to actually watch something. My favorite website to watch free shit is 123 Movies, and then I found out that they upload both parts of War of the Worlds 2019 to YouTube, which you can find. I was ecstatic. I was happy. And then I watched it. Primarily part 2. For those of you who don't know what War of the Worlds is, let me just give you a quick rundown. War of the Worlds is written by H.G. Wells, and it is the best science fiction alien invasion novels of our human race. H.G. Wells is a phenomenal writer, a phenomenal author, and someone I would recommend to anyone in Literature 101 or even English 101. H.G. Wells' work has gone on to spawn many a great product, be it The Invisible Man, War of the Worlds, or even many other movies, including Things to Come, one of the best apocalypse medias of all time, including the rebuilding of humanity and progress, and even being a subtle commentary on progress and sort of if we should be progressive or not, show progressing technology in the human race. But War of the Worlds is one of the stories that kind of kicked Wells off. War of the Worlds is about an alien invasion from Mars and how we as a species were helpless to stop it. All of our devices, all of our weapons at the time could not stop the Martians. And no, not because of bullshit force fields, because of actual technology that we were not prepared for. The introduction of chemical weapons, heat rays, massive stuff that we did not know about at the time and could not comprehend. War of the Worlds is one of the best books to ever read. It has spawned countless media counterparts, be it comic books, which are not only faithful adaptations of the book, but also sequels to the book. Yes, sequels to the book. There are even unofficial novels that are sequels to the book, talking about the war itself with the Martians, with the British Empire going to Mars to fight the Martians on the home front and win one for humanity. And many other elements that were great, including one where Nikola Tesla actually helps us go to Mars to kick the Martians' ass. But in terms of other medias, one of the best ones is, of course, Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds, including Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds: The Next Generation, with Liam motherfucking Nielsen as the narrator. And by God, is it amazing. But then we had video games, which was more or less adaptations of Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds put into video game form. Then we had more video games of War of the Worlds. We had more comic books. We had more movies. And the movies is what we're going to be starting at, because the first War of the Worlds movie was 1953's War of the Worlds, which was a full-colored movie. And while, yes, kicking off the War of the Worlds adaptation, the actual first official adaptation of the War of the World was, of course, the 1938 radio drama. We already know about that. I'm talking about the movies, not the radio dramas. The movies themselves continued off with, of course, the TV series, which was War of the Worlds, which continued off the 1953 continuity of War of the Worlds, not the official book. Then we had 2005, which was the Tom Cruise War of the Worlds, which, dear God, we already know about that. And then we had the documentary, which was The Great Martian War. And then we had many other movies, be it independent or official. And then, of course, the final one before this kicked off was one that I loved. I liked. People may be mixed on it, but you can agree it's actually a really good film, and that is War of the Worlds Goliath. Yes, this is the one I got day one it dropped. It's the standard edition disc, not the Blu-ray. Don't get me wrong, I want to get the Blu-ray with, I'm hoping there's a director's cut so we can actually see all the cut content. Either way, though, this was a great one because this is the actual sequel to the book, set in the aftermath of the Martian invasion, where the entire world has taken the Martian technology, created their own tripods, and literally are ready to go on the offensive, should the Martians ever come back. And they do, and bada bing, bada boom, we win! Ha-ha! But this was not what the fans wanted. The fans wanted something that was set in Victorian London, the actual first invasion. And it was announced that we would get that. In 2018, we were given that nice little snippet of the BBC One creating a faithful War of the Worlds adaptation. Now, for those of you who have already seen War of the Worlds, don't spoil it yet. Don't worry, I'm getting there. Spoiling's my job. 2019 rolled around and the first episode dropped of War of the Worlds 2019. And this was a faithful adaptation so far. We saw Victorian London. We saw the reporter. We saw Ogilvy, played by an amazing actor who we all know and love from 28 Weeks Later, Once Upon a Time, and many other great roles from either small screen to the big screen. This actor was killing it as Ogilvy, and I loved his enthusiasm, and I loved his energy. And there were a lot of beats that were kicking off pretty good. And yes, we were all blinded by our nostalgia, by our actual fan vision, because we got to see the Horsell Commons. We got to see the Battle of Woking. We got to see the Artilleryman. We got to see the tripods, the black smoke, the Thunderchild, the first Martian being slain, Thunderchild coming down. It was actually pretty good. It was a great thing. Then part 2 came out, and Jesus fucking Christ. Part 2 is where BBC starts pushing their fucking agenda on you and basically, strong, independent woman! Dear God. And just, the editing in part 2 was inconsistent because it was jumping between the future and the past, or supposedly the flashback and the present. It was just, oh dear fucking God. Okay. So, as a lot of you know, for many of you who have seen BBC's War of the Worlds, you know exactly what I'm talking about. For those of you who haven't, like I said, it's on YouTube now. Both parts are on YouTube. You can go check it out. And this is what's sad, because, dear God on heaven, okay, what did they do good? Is probably what you're asking. What did they do good? Part 1 is one I recommend you actually stick with, because Part 1 actually is the best adaptation of War of the Worlds. Part 1, we actually get to see the cylinders. We actually get to see the black... Well, okay, the cylinders is kind of stretching it, but we'll get to that. We get to see the Martian tripods. The tripods being actual menacing tripods. While not as good as Jeff Wayne's tripods, still pretty good. We get to see this invisible, unearthly heat ray. We get to see the black smoke. It is good. I'm not joking on that. It is actually really, really good. It is so great. It is perfect. And while, yes, I was a little bit saddened and should have been the first red flag for how the story was going to go when we didn't see the Thunderchild go down like in the book, it still was good. The Thunderchild, we actually got to see 3 Martian kills in the first part. We got to see the first one go down. We got to see the second one go down with the Thunderchild, and then the second one go down thanks to the Thunderchild. And I'm not going to lie, it actually is pretty good. And the black smoke is something that was actually really scary, because it wasn't this, you know, oh, it's a fog. It's fog machines. No, it actually was essentially like an unalien chemical weapon. It engulfed people. You couldn't see their outlines. It engulfed people, and it killed them instantly. Even if you breathed in a little bit of it, you got to see the effects of it. You got to see this guy literally just black goo coming from his nose and mouth. It was terrifying. It was so good. It really was. And I did love the heat ray. I love the effect of the heat ray, where the heat ray, you couldn't see it. You saw like this Predator-esque outline of it, but you could not see it. It was great. And the atmosphere in part 1 was great. Everything about the first part was great. And then part 2 kicked around. Before we get to part 2, I'm just going to go ahead and say it now. Yes, I did like... the big difference is that the way they show it is that it shows the aftermath of the war with humanity, of the War of the Worlds, of the Martian War, essentially. We get to see the aftermath of the Martian invasion, where all of the Earth is essentially red, choked out by the red weed. Or at least this adaptation's version of the red weed. And it's not good. Well, I say that, I kind of like it. I like the idea that, you know, on Mars, yes, this red weed is not only both a type of plant, but also a type of mineral, because when they're breaking up the red weed, you can actually see crystals being broken up out of it. I like this idea because Mars, if you actually know from recent discovery, especially recent probes that have gone there, you see that Mars is mostly a type of crystal. It does have some crystallization, does have some mostly rock, minerals. It's not really a type of planet that at the time would actually have a lot of water. And at this point in time, yes, I can definitely see that being part of the red weed. But it does kind of take away from the original novel adaptations, talking about the red weed being like this sort of snake-like entity which crawled. Yes, in adaptations, the red weed was seen as this type of thick brickle bush, this type of thick brickleness where its feelers would go towards any source of water and choke it out. Even in Tom Cruise's War of the Worlds, much as many people would like to hate that movie and forget that movie ever existed, it did the red weed right. This red weed that would just grow, not like over a period of time and weeks like regular weed. No, actually unearthly snake-like grow as it sort of tries to consume and choke out any forms of life. Don't get me wrong, I like this and I understand if it was a budgetary thing that we couldn't see that, but the majority of the damn thing was CGI. Moving on. Part 2 is where Part 2 is stupid. I'm just going to go ahead and say now, it was stupid. And they rushed the ending. I'm not joking on that when I say that they rushed the ending for the Martian's death. Unlike the original War of the Worlds, where the Martian's death was slow, it took time to kill the Martians, because in the novel and many other adaptations, it was said that they had no immune system to our diseases, to our bacteria, to the stuff in the water, to the stuff in the food, to our own bacteria in our blood. It took weeks, if not implied months, to kill the Martians off, for the Martians to get sick and die. In this adaptation, instantaneous. I'm not joking on that. Instantaneous. And the Martian design. Okay. For those of you who don't know, the Martian design, the original description of the Martians, where they were hulking meats of brain. They were just hulking brain, essentially, larger than a bear, with a slit, a V-like slit, where the mouth would be. Large, disc-like eyes. And snake-like tentacles, where the limbs would be. I wish I was joking on this, but that is actually legitimately scary as hell. And many artistic adaptations of the Martians are legitimately creepy, if not disturbing. Hell! This one did the Martians right. This is the Martians right. This adaptation of BBC, the BBC adaptation, the Martians are mosquitoes. I wish I was joking. They are three-legged mosquitoes. They have no face, they have no eyes, and they have a mosquito thing form from their flesh as they literally shove it into people and they drink straight from their bodies. Once again, do I have to reference the book? I'm going to reference the book. I'm going to reference every single source. And once again, this from 2012, 2013 actually did it better and right and correctly. In the other adaptations, the Martians need machines. Even the Martians themselves had to go around in machines because they could not move their bodies. They had no limbs. They only had the tentacles. And they had to move around in machines. And the way they actually ate was they had a machine that took a thing, stuck the human, stuck the blood. Then they had needles go back into their bodies to put the blood in there. Again, I understand if it's a budgetary thing, but you could have gone practical. You could have done practical effects. You could have done something. But again, the majority of the Martians and even the tripods themselves are CGI. You're telling me you couldn't take a couple of hours out of your day to actually make... Moving on. Part 2 is where we also get more bullshit because, of course, they're pushing this whole fact of the woman. They're pushing their agenda, saying that it was a woman who saved the humanity. It was a woman who found a way to kill off the red weed. A woman who did this. And I'm just sitting here banging my head against the desk because it's like, no! No, you inconsiderate, stupid fuck! In the original book, it was not human. It was not a woman. It was not a person. It was not even people. It was the bacteria. It was the diseases that we had grown immunities to. It was the common cold. It was allergies. It was basic stuff that we have immunity for and medicine for. Because the Martians didn't have any immune system. They had no immune system. That's what killed them off. Their lack of an immune system. Their lack of white bodies. Their lack of medicine. That's what killed the Martians. But here, no, they die instantaneously because they drank infected blood, and it's because of a woman who actually did this. And what's sad is that when we're in the actual present, where the entire world is covered in this red weed, when in the book, the red weed had died with the Martians because the red weed was of the same actual makeup as the Martians, meaning the red weed died off because of bacteria as well. The entire world wasn't choked off in red. No, the bacteria killed the red weed also. And what's sad? What's the big thing? The one thing that kicked off the entire invasion, the cylinders. We never see the cylinders. We see these balls, these big black balls on top of the ground. No cylinder. And instead of the iconic description of the cylinder untwisting, unscrewing with 2 feet of threading exposed, and then it falling off. Instead, we get a ball that spins in the air, shoots out the death ray, and then dissipates. No threading, no top coming off, no device popping out of it that shoots the heat ray, and no, none of that. I understand you want to be original, but this is War of the Worlds. You promised us a faithful adaptation. Yes, it's set in Victorian London. Yes, the first part does actually hit the beats. But you want to know what we missed? You know what you skipped out in the book? You know what you skipped out in the book, BBC? You skipped out the parson. You skipped out Dead London. You skipped out the Return of the Artilleryman and his talk of actually digging underground and creating a brave new world. Hell, one of the Jeff Wayne songs, both the original and the new generation, is called Brave New World, where we are described and told by the artillerymen what the new society underground will be. None of that. Nope, none of that. Nope, that would not work. That would not work. A man telling us exactly, no, we're going to get rid of that. We're going to get rid of that. We're going to get rid of the parson. We're going to get rid of the parson's wife. We're going to get rid of this. We're going to get rid of that. To anyone who's going to go watch this now, stick with part 1. Stick with part 1, and then immediately watch this. War of the Worlds Goliath is a better adaptation than this bullshit. Hell, War of the Worlds Goliath is technically a sequel to War of the Worlds, along with many other media. Go read the comic books. Go listen to the Jeff Wayne's, not actual Jeff Wayne's album, both the original and the next generation, which are on YouTube and you can listen to for free. Go listen to an audio book if you have to. Read the comic books. The comic books are way better than the actual BBC adaptation, because at least the comic book of the BBC was a better adaptation than this bullshit. Jesus. That's my thoughts on BBC's War of the Worlds 2019. I know Fox is making War of the Worlds now, and I might actually watch that, because Fox actually has a decent track record when it comes to good shows and decent adaptations. And hell, Lethal Weapon was actually pretty good, but I just want to see what this does, and if it hits the same story beats as the book, at least. And to those of you who have seen War of the Worlds, or at least watched the show, or have now seen part 1 and part 2, and you understand what I'm talking about, let me know in the comments section down below what you think of it and how you think they could have done better. If not, someone else can do better. Let's just pray. And I do mean pray Jeff Wayne's comes out with his movie. Seriously. I hope so. Anyway, thank you all for watching. As always, I've been AirsoftALs, the Cowman's Airsofter, who reviews media, so you can know my thoughts on it. And Jesus Christ, this show is just, just God. And if you'd like to help out with future videos, consider donating to our PayPal. And if you like what I do, consider hitting that like button, notification, all that good happy horse shit. And yeah, if you will, I'm going to continue finishing up the editing for the final review for Guns of Insanity, and then I'm going to take my break, which means this will be the last you hear of me. Till next time.